Hey YouTube, how's it going? My name is Kevin, also known as Phoenix, and today I'm going to be giving you all another deck review very similar to my previous one that I did of Rakdos Lurrus, where I got 11th place at a 2K. This time I got 11th place at a 4K with Jund, which is kind of an upgrade, I would say, to my Rakdos deck. Very similar type of game plan, very similar type of deck, but there are some advancements to it. So we're going to be going over the general game plan, the strengths, the weaknesses, and yeah, let's get on into it. Really quick, before we get into the video, I do have a very special announcement that I haven't been able to make on this channel yet, and that is that I've been able to partner up with my local game store. I've been able to partner up with Gamers Haunt, which is located in Asheville, North Carolina, so if you happen to be in the nearby area, I definitely recommend that you check them out. They have been helping me grow not only as a person, but as a player for many years now, and they are wonderful people, amazing scene. Definitely recommend that you check them out. And what does this mean for you, the viewer? Well, this basically means that my content is also going to be over on the Gamers Haunt channel, so be sure to check out the link in the description or at the end of the video. That'll take you over there. Make sure you subscribe and you'll be able to catch some of my content over there as well. So for today's deck, we have Jund, and I'm not talking the traditional Liliana of the Veil Jund, I'm talking the new Lurrus of the Dream Den Jund. That is right. Jund has been able to adapt to the current modern metagame and has been able to adopt Lurrus of the Dream Den and function very well from my experience. I do have some takes on this deck and it is moving in a different direction, but we're going to stick to my version of the deck for now, and we are going to look at the general game plan of how this deck wants to function. So let's go ahead and look at some of the strengths of the deck, and we're going to start off with the overall synergy between a lot of the cards that I ran. And let's go ahead and start off with the Lurrus loop. So with having Lurrus on the field, we are able to loop so many different types of cards, such as Lurrus plus Mishra's Bauble, Lurrus plus Kroxa, and these are going to enable us to do a lot of things such as draw cards, consistently make our opponent discard cards, or if we know they don't have a hand and we're both in top deck mode, we can just basically have a 2-mana bolt in our graveyard that we're just able to recast each and every turn, and we don't have to even escape our Kroxa to get the benefit off of it. We're also able to just buy back really good threats such as DRC and Tarmogoyf with the Lurrus of the Dream Den. Of course, we also have Dragon's Rage Channeler, which is really pulling its weight here because we are utilizing the Surveil effect to the fullest of extent. Whenever we cast a Mishra's Bauble or any other non-creature spell, we are going to be surveilling one, which we are ideally putting that into the graveyard, and that is going to be able to buff up our Tarmogoyfs and fuel our Kroxa to be able to escape later on. The deck also has a ton of grinding potential, which is really cool because that is what I thought the deck lacked the most when I was playing the red-black version of the deck. But with the addition of green, we are able to play cards such as Wrenn and 6, which that paired with Nurturing Peatland is able to allow us to keep drawing cards and have the alternative win condition through the Wrenn and 6 emblem of having all of our instants and sorceries gaining retraits, such as Lightning Bolt, for example. This will be able to pose another threat that our opponent has to deal with. This paired with Lurrus of the Dream Den, we're able to buy back our Wrenn and 6 if they ever do deal with it. And of course, I know I talked about this within the high synergies, but Lurrus in itself is also just a grindy card. Buying back your Mishra's Bauble, buying back your Kroxas, all of these are really good grindy effects that won't end the game immediately, but will gain us incremental advantages that will sooner or later add up to where our opponent can't deal with it anymore. And of course, at the end of the day, we do have to win the game, and we're going to be doing that through the use of our low CMC but high value threats, such as the use of cards of Kroxa and Tarmogoyf. Once both of these kind of stick on the battlefield, you just keep turning them right, and Kroxa will get an attack trigger. Tarmogoyf's just going to be a very big body for 2 mana. Both of these cards are going to be pulling their weight, and they will end the game quickly if they are not answered. So now that I've touched up on the strengths of the deck, I do want to switch over to what the weaknesses are, so that way if you're trying to fight the deck, you know the best way to do so, or if you're trying to play the deck, you know what you have to look out for. So the first weakness that I really want to touch up on is how graveyard reliant this deck is. Dragon's Rage Channeler, Kroxa, Death Titan, Lurrus of the Dream Den, Tarmogoyf. All of these threats are heavily reliant on the graveyard, and if you do not have a graveyard, then they're not really going to be doing you any favors. So if your opponent has a Rest in Peace on the field, for example, the deck doesn't really perform that well. You have a 1-mana 1/1 that can surveil into the exile zone, which does not help us. We have a 0/1 creature that cannot get bigger, and we have a 2-mana 6/6 that will make them discard a card and immediately get exiled. So our biggest threat would be Lurrus of the Dream Den as a 3/2 body that has no effect, and of course Ragavan, which is a 2/1, which if left unanswered will win the game, but let's be realistic, it's not going to go unanswered. So the second weakness that I want to go over that this deck has, and I kind of struggle to call it a weakness, it's just the way the deck is built, is that it is a fair deck. And by that I mean we're not looking to cheat an Emrakul onto the battlefield with this deck. It's just playing honest Magic. You're just 2 mana, I play a Tarmogoyf. 3 mana, I play a Lurrus of the Dream Den. Like, these cards are very strong, don't get me wrong, but the deck isn't looking to stack our deck in a certain way or anything like that. It's just a lot of high synergy cards that looks to disrupt our opponent's resources, and that's it. If the cards don't line up well, they just don't line up well, and we may just lose to that. But overall, I would say that this is kind of a weakness, but it's more of a playstyle preference. So now that I've gone over both the strengths and the weaknesses of the deck, I do want to go over my general thoughts, my general reflections of the deck now that I've played it in a 4K. I got 11th place with it. My overall record was 5-2 with the deck, and just kind of give you all my thoughts of what I think of the deck. So generally speaking, I think the deck is strong, but is definitely exploitable. As I said, if our opponent does have the Graveyard Hate, then the deck automatically feels like it just does not perform, that we are going to get blown out of the water, and we're just kind of just waiting to lose at that point. And I would say that the deck is like an 8 out of 10 when it doesn't get hated on, because again, it is a very strong deck and I think it's very well positioned right now. However, if we do not have an answer for the Graveyard Hate, then unfortunately the deck goes from being like an 8 out of 10 to like a 3 or 4 out of 10. The deck really just does not perform at all, and so I would say the deck is strong but exploitable. Now the new versions of this deck are starting to move away from cards such as Kroxa and are starting to pick up cards such as Urza Saga. And when I first saw this list, I thought it was kind of insane and crazy that this was not an artifact deck. What are we tutoring with Urza Saga? This just does not make any sense to me. But the more I look at it, the more I start to realize, you know, what the deck is trying to do, utilizing Wrenn and 6 plus Urza Saga to make a bunch of constructs and to be able to fetch out some pretty middle to high value artifacts such as your Nihil spell bombs, your whatever the red spell bomb is, I forget, I think it's Pyrite spell bomb, the expedition maps. I think the deck should also be running Shadow Spear as a tutor target to put on Tarmogoyf. That would be really good to give it trample. Of course, you have your Mishra's Baubles that you can tutor up as well. All this stacked on the with the ability of making the construct tokens, this is going to allow us an alternative win condition that will allow us to move away from the graveyard, even if they do have the Graveyard Hate, because the Wrenn and 6 does have to get it out of the graveyard. We still will be able to get at least 2 construct tokens and fetch out a expedition map, and then crack the expedition map to get another Urza Saga. So this will allow the deck to have a different type of grind, and I look forward to trying out this version of the deck next. And that's going to be it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. And as I said, I am working with my local game store, Gamers Hunt, in Nashville, North Carolina. So please be sure to check out their content over on the Gamers Hunt YouTube channel. Make sure you like their comment and go check out my videos over there as well. And as always, I will see you all next time.